Hi, and welcome back to my channel, Eat Well, Spend Smart. My name is Tara, and today we are going to make a sick day chicken and rice soup. It's been gloomy here for days. My daughter isn't feeling well, and it's practically a monsoon outside because it's been raining so hard. And every time there's someone in our family who's not feeling well, I make this chicken and rice soup. It's very delicious, first of all, and I just feel like it's super healing. It's got simple ingredients, it's easy on the digestion, and it's just so comforting when someone isn't feeling well. So first, we're starting out with a stock pot and a whole chicken. Okay, now I just covered the chicken with about 10 and a half to 11 cups of water, just enough to cover it by about half an inch to an inch. I'm only going to season it with salt, and that's it. And I'm going to put about just a teaspoon and a half in this right now. I'm going to add more salt later, but this is just enough to get me going. Okay, now I'm going to bring this to a boil, and once it comes to a boil, then I will reduce it down to about a low or a 2, something like that, just to let it simmer. And I might put a lid on just part way so all of the liquid doesn't evaporate. And not all of it's going to evaporate anyway, but just so it doesn't lose too much water. And I'm just going to be cooking the chicken. It's just simmering the chicken just enough to shred it to make the soup so I can get it off the bone. This is the base of our soup. It's what's going to make the broth. And trust me, this is so much better than a box broth. If you're used to cooking soup with a box broth, this tastes so much different and so much better. And it's what my family requests every time that they're sick. My daughter will say, "Do you have broth in the freezer?" And I usually do, but today I didn't, so I'm making my chicken soup from scratch to show you how I do it. After it's come to a boil, make sure that you skim off some of the foam that rises to the top. This just makes sure that your broth is clear and has a nice texture to it and doesn't get muddled up with the foam. Then I reduce the heat and I put the lid on just part way so some steam can escape. Okay, so I set my timer for about an hour. It's going to take at least that long to cook. So after an hour, I will check on it and see if it's done, and we'll meet back here and see how it goes. After an hour, my chicken was done, so now I'm just straining the broth into a separate bowl using a fine mesh strainer. And we're going to take the chicken out of the pot also because we're going to use that same pot to cook our vegetables next. Next, we're just going to melt a pat of butter back into the same pot and add our carrots, onions, and celery. And we're just going to cook those for about 5 to 7 minutes until they start to get soft. And then once they do, we're going to add our broth back into the pot. Now we're just going to add our seasonings, our salt, pepper, thyme, a bay leaf, parsley, and then we're going to add our rice in and give it a good stir. Bring it to a low boil and cover partially and let it cook for about 15 to 20 minutes until the rice and the vegetables are tender. Once the chicken is not molten hot lava anymore, go ahead and debone your chicken. I usually recruit my husband to do this part. And we're going to save half of it only for the soup. And you're just going to cut it up into bite-sized pieces. And the other half of the chicken you can do whatever you want with. You can save it for another meal the next day, or you can stash it in your freezer for a head start on another dish. The last few minutes of cook time on the soup is when we're going to add the chicken back in. I don't like to add it earlier because it can start to get tough, and this way the chicken stays nice and tender and juicy. And with anything you cook, you need to make sure you take a little taste to see if the seasonings are on point. If they're not, add a little something more. If it doesn't need more salt, does the flavor pop? Does it need a little more pepper? Does it need a little more of the spices? You have to make this decision on your own, and all salt and all seasonings taste a little bit different depending on their freshness and the brand that you used. So just because you follow a recipe doesn't mean it will be the exact same in your kitchen, so taste and see. Now all that's left to do is ladle up that bowl of comforting goodness and dig in. I hope you enjoyed our tutorial on how to make this chicken and rice soup. I am off to eat a bowl for myself and tend to a sick kid. So if you make this, I hope it comforts you and those in your house that are sick or not sick. It's also just good for a cold, rainy day or just a cold day in general. Thanks a lot.